Why is no one talking about this? So when you look on YouTube about how to become a data analyst, you find tons of videos about how to become a data analyst in 3 months, in 6 months, and so on. A day in the life of a data analyst. You find tons of videos, but no one prepares you for what I'm about to discuss today. My name is Alex, and I'm a self-taught data analyst for a few months now. And my goal is to share the things that I learned on my journey to help others who also want to do the same. I remember when I got that phone call to tell me that I received a conditional offer for this data analyst job that I'm currently doing now. Listen, I was so excited. I was over the moon because, it meant so much to me. Not because of even the job itself, but, I learned so much about myself. I had to sacrifice a lot to get to this opportunity. It took me 2 years of consistent hard work, persistence, kept on going. There was a lot of challenges on the way, but I kept on pushing through, and ultimately to get to the other side. Listen, rightly so, I was very excited. And more because of what I learned about myself in the process. I learned so much about myself in that process, but what it ultimately taught me is that I can actually do anything that I put my mind to, and that was very, very important to me. So after doing this, I just realized that wow, like I'm capable of so much that I didn't know about myself, and now, you know, I'm never gonna sell myself short again. I'm just I know that if I put my mind to anything now, I can do it. So I was very, very excited about everything. But then when I started the job, I think like a few months in, I think that excitement kind of was wiped away a little bit because of the busy nature of my work and the high pressure to deliver results all the time. It was a lot at the beginning, and I had to learn so many things at the same time. And you know, I explained to you guys that the role that I do is like a matrix role where I sit between the data analyst team and the complaints team that you know I do analysis for. So in order to do my job as an analyst, I need to understand how complaints work for the company that I work for, and it's very complex. So I had to be learning that, trying to understand complaints, and still, obviously, I'm a new data analyst. I've done a few projects here and there on my own, but actually doing it in real life, you still got a lot of things that you had to learn, and there's not time. Still, there's no time to learn all these things. You just have to. I just had to deliver at a very high pace, and it was taking a lot out of me to the point where I really started to doubt myself and question if I'm really cut out for this, and to the point where there were times where I'm thinking, maybe you know let me start let me start looking for like a new job before I fail probation or something. Like literally, that's kind of how that was the thought process at the time. So there'll be days where I'll really doubt myself, and it'll go on for weeks depending on what I'm working on. And then when I overcome it, then I'll be happy again. Like, okay, well, maybe I might be able to do this. Then another challenge will come, and then I start to doubt myself again. Like it was tough. A lot of mental gymnastics going on, but there's a lot of times where I found myself maybe doubting myself, a little bit, because sometimes I'll look at some of the junior analysts in the team, because yeah, that's the thing. My role, um, obviously, when I was looking for opportunities, I was maybe looking for like a junior position where I can go in as a junior and sort of you know work my way up and learn as I go along kind of thing. But my role wasn't a junior position; it was just a data analyst. So sometimes I was speaking to the junior analysts in my team, and I'm looking at even their qualifications. I'm thinking, wow, like how did I end up here? Like what I'm saying? Because they got a lot of them got like master's degree in data analytics. Some of them had worked in really big places before, coming here, and then there's me. I'm thinking, like, how did I end up here? Like, what I'm saying? How did I become the analyst and their junior? Like, doesn't it? It was hard, So you can understand, like, there are times where I started to really doubt myself whether I can actually do this job or not. So this feeling that I'm describing here is what you call imposter syndrome. And if you work within tech or if you're trying to get in tech, you hear this term being thrown out a lot. But imposter syndrome essentially is when you feel like a fraud, you don't deserve to be where you are, you're not cut out for it, and it's only a matter of time before you get found out. That feeling is what you call imposter syndrome. But the good thing is I had heard of this term before I landed my job, so I knew it was something that's normal when you work within tech or any role in fact that is very challenging. I've heard very experienced professionals in tech saying that they still experience it up to this day with having decades of experience. They still experience that feeling, but you just have to find a way to sort of deal with it. All right, so here are a few things that I do to help me deal with this feeling of imposter syndrome. The first thing that actually helps me to deal with this feeling is like one of my favorite Bible verses, which is Deuteronomy chapter 31, verses 8. It says, "The Lord, He goes before you, He will be with you, He will not leave you nor forsake you. So do not fear or be dismayed." This Bible verse just makes me relax. No matter, I just think to myself, no matter what happens, it's all part of God's plan. It says, "The Lord goes before you, He will be with you." It's already gone ahead of me, and everything that happened is part of His ultimate plan in the end. So just knowing that just makes me relax, and it's already showed me that He's faithful to me. Like even my journey to landing this job, it was. If I tell you, I'll do a proper story on it someday. But it's all God. So it's already shown me like what He can do for me. So whatever happens, I don't fear the worst anymore. Like because everything that happens is part of His plan. Even if it's a negative thing, I know He's got something bigger waiting for me. That's why maybe this one had to go. So yeah, that just anytime I see that verse or I recite it to myself, I just relax. And that's one of the major ways that helps me to deal with this feeling. Another very important thing that I do as well that helps me to deal with this feeling as well is the fact that I recognize that the reason why I feel like that a lot of times is because there's a knowledge gap. Okay, because if I knew everything that I need to know, you know, I won't have this feeling because I'll do everything with ease. So, in order to help me to you know to close that gap, I had to do a lot of learning. So at the start, I knew just doing 9 to 5 alone, like regular people who already have the experience, is not going to help me. I need to close that knowledge gap very quickly because there are a lot of things that I know that I should know already, but I don't know yet. So those things, I learn very quickly. Like things like there's some things that I should know already how to do on Teams and all those things, but I don't know it yet. So I try to catch up with those things maybe on the weekend, and certain formulas or whatever that I need to know, I use the weekends to sort of catch up, so that it reduces that feeling because the more I know, the more relaxed I am. I'm not going to be under pressure all the time because when you're when you don't know what you need to know, a job that should take you like an hour, sometimes it take you like 8 hours or 2 days, and then, I hate coming up with excuses and stories, so yeah, I just at the beginning I used a lot of my weekends and my spare time to sort of catch up and bridge that knowledge gap. It's not ideal, but you know, if you wanna be successful, you have to be willing to do those things. So yeah, I spend a lot of my weekends, trying to catch up and bridge that knowledge gap. Another thing that I also had to do, again, it's not ideal, is that I worked a lot of longer hours. So even when work was finished, I'll still, be going at it sometimes because, I need to catch up, I'm behind and I want to deliver things on time, and there are times there are times even when I'll forget that I'm still showing as like online on Teams, and my manager will send me a message like, "Alex, log off." My manager will force me to log off. I'm like, damn, I forgot to put my thing on, show that I'm offline. So my manager will like tell me to log off and go, but sometimes I'll say, "Oh, all right, fine," but then I'll just show us like offline and just continue because, you know, the next day or next few days she's gonna come to me like, "Oh, did you do the thing?" And then I'll be like, "Oh, I'm not finished." Then it's not gonna look good and she's not gonna be happy. So I just had to do what I had to do. But yeah, so sometimes I end up spending, staying on longer just to get things done. It's not ideal and it's not something that I want to be doing for the long term. But in the immediate term, it's just to catch up and again bridge that gap. Another thing which I've already touched upon a bit is the fact that you have to acknowledge that, this feeling is absolutely normal. Like I mentioned to you, there's people that have decades and decades of experience but still experience this feeling because, you know, it's a challenging job. It's a job that really challenges you mentally. So of course it will be normal that, there are times where you're gonna feel like, you're gonna doubt yourself, you're gonna feel like you don't belong there and so and so. But just recognize that, it, that feeling is there, but also it's a normal feeling that, you know, many people go through, and it'd be good, and also talking to people helps as well. If there's people that you trust, just speak to people, get it off your chest, and I promise you it will be fine. But don't go and quit because you're getting this feeling or whatever. It's a completely normal feeling. You just have to find ways to deal with it that works for you. Another thing that I did to help me deal with this as well. So at the start, I was taking over someone's work, so I was getting a lot of handovers, and it was tough, because this is how the handover goes. So I just get like a phone call, video phone call on Teams, and then the person shows me like what they do. I did this, I did that, then I put this here, then I did that for like a hour and a bit, and I'm thinking, how am I meant to remember all of this? Like, they expect them to just show you once and then that's it. You just go on and then you just get on with it. But a lot of the stuff they're teaching me, I've never heard of it before. You know, a lot of it is news to me. I'm thinking, how, like, what is this? Like, how am I gonna know this? So one way that I actually dealt with that is, before, if I'm about to get a handover for something, or if they're about to show me how to do something, I'll ask the person, look, um, this is going to be quite, a lot of information. Are you okay if I record this conversation so that I can watch it back, and then, if I'm stuck, I don't have to bother you, but I can watch it back to remind myself. And most of the time, in fact, all the time, they were fine with it. They just said, yeah, just go ahead and just record. I remember my manager was like, wow, like I've never encountered anyone that I've never been recorded so much in my life. We just joked about it, but it was fine most of the time. And yeah, whenever it was a good idea because I was stuck a lot, and I just had to just go back and rewatch that video. It's like, oh, they just had to this what they did, and then I don't have to keep sending messages and trying to reach them on team because they got their their own they got their own things to deal with. I don't want to be bothering them too much. So that really helped a lot. And if they show me something, sometimes I'll take a screenshot so I can look back at it as well. So things like that really helped me a lot. And yeah, it just helped me a lot, and it made me even look like someone that when they taught something once, he got it straight away. But it was never the case. Sometimes I'll rewatch it back and rewatch it and rewatch it and try to understand it. So yeah, that really helps a lot. So if you do, if you get into a similar situation, you know, and you're being bombarded with a lot of information, always ask like, are you okay if I record this so I can rewatch it back? It will help me, later on, and more time, you know, more often than not, they'll be okay with that. Another very important thing that I did as well is that, again, the imposter syndrome is like you tend to doubt yourself a lot, whether you're actually doing well or if you can actually do the job. So what I did was, we have like regular one-to-ones and catch up with my manager, and I'll ask my manager like, how am I doing, like what things am I doing well and what I could improve. And she was blatant and honest with me, and these conversations were very good because it let me know that in fact I was doing very well. Because she told me like, you're doing very well. The only thing I'll maybe recommend that you improve on is maybe this and this area. And those were like minor things that I just had to work on. But majority of the time I was doing quite well. So I'm just there doubting myself, thinking I'm no good, but I'm actually doing my job. I'm doing what's required of me. So why am I getting this feeling? So it's very good sometimes, yeah, just to ask, your manager or whoever, get feedback. How are you doing? What you can improve on, and focus on that. And that really helps a lot as well. Another thing that I do as well is not being afraid to ask for help. That's a big thing as well. If I'm stuck, I'll quickly send a message to one of my colleagues. Because sometimes when you're stuck on something, you can be stuck on the littlest of problems for so long, and the day. Listen, those 8 hours, they go so quick, yeah, and a lot of times, sometimes you have so many meetings in between, you're not even gonna get time to do the actual work. You understand? And your bosses, they don't care about that. They just care about the deadline. You said you're gonna do this by this and that time. Where is it? You understand? Where is the work? So don't spend time on little things that's taking all your time when you can just ask a colleague. So if I'm stuck, sometimes I'll just speak to my colleague, like, oh, do you have time? Do you have some 15, 30 minutes for a quick phone call? And then sometimes because we work, yeah, I work from home a lot, so my colleagues are not next to me, so I can just quickly ask them for help. Um, you have to arrange a phone call or something like that, or reach out to them in that way, So find the time, ask them the question, and a lot of times uh, they're happy to help me understand as well. And we all help each other. We all need each other as well, because there are times where they will also come to me for something. So I've also helped them in a lot of ways, and we're all on a journey together. So we help each other, and that's how you get by. So when I'm stuck, if it's taking me too long, I just quickly ask somebody if they can help me. You can't care too much about how it looks, because there are times where they will ask me things as well that maybe they should have known or whatever, but they just didn't, and they just asked. So why can't I do the same? So sometimes you just have to ask, and that saves you so much time. And another thing that helps me to also deal with it, and I need to do more of this actually, is also celebrating my accomplishments. Because sometimes I feel like I don't celebrate my accomplishments enough, but I'm learning to do that more. Sometimes, the little things, because sometimes you have to look at how far you have come. Only a few months ago, a lot of the stuff I'm doing now, I had no idea that I could do this, you know, and bit by bit, I've delivered big projects that they're using to make big decisions in the organizations. So these kind of things need to be celebrated. If you can't celebrate your small wins, then you're never going to be satisfied. So that's something that I'm learning to do more of, to focus more on my accomplishments rather than my fears. you know and that helps a lot. So when I sometimes I sit back and I look at, one of the things I did as well when I started was I did a bit of journaling. Now I've slacked a little bit, but I was journaling my weeks, my days, or whatnot, and I'll go back and look at, where I'm coming from. But if I look at where I started from and where I am now, I've done a lot, that is worth celebrating. I even got a certificate for being able to juggle multiple tasks, you know, um, for the team. So there's a lot to celebrate. I need to focus on those things rather than the fears. And lastly, another great way of dealing with this feeling is, getting a mentor. And this is something that I'm working on myself. I'm looking for a mentor that's sort of been to where I'm trying to go, been there, done that, someone with lots of experience that, I can speak to, on a regular basis to sort of guide me. It doesn't have to necessarily be a data analyst, but someone that's very experience in the professional career that I can have conversations with. I can go to when I'm having doubts and that sort of thing. Someone that I can really learn from, and that saves you a lot of time. Than trying to learn it yourself and making a lot of mistakes along the way. At my age now, I haven't got a lot of time to waste. I don't want to be in this rat race forever. So if there's someone there that can help me, guide me, you know, that can help me to avoid a lot of these mistakes early, that would be a great help. So that's kind of one of the things that I'm working on. And when I go on my me up events, that's what I'm looking for, a mentor that is willing to help me on my journey. So guys, look, I'm making this video because I feel like on YouTube, a lot of people only share the fancy and the shiny part of being a data analyst, but from my experience, my few months of experience now, I know it's not as glamorous as they make it. There's good parts, of course, and there's also some very challenging parts that I wish people made me aware before I go into it, so that I didn't have to struggle as much as I did. So my goal is to share all these things with you guys, anything that I learn on the way that I feel it will help you guys, I try to share it so that it will make your journey much easier and much smoother. Okay, so on your journey to becoming a data analyst, and not necessarily just a data analyst, but breaking in tech in general, there's a very good chance that you encounter this feeling of imposter syndrome. But always remember, look, it's a normal feeling, and even the most experienced professionals have still experienced this feeling up to this day. And when it happens to you, it's not a sign to give up or you're not cut out for it or whatever. You know, it's just you're in you're outside your comfort zone. So it's bound to happen that way. You just have to find ways to deal with it and keep pushing, because in the end, the things that you learn about yourself, is priceless. You learn so much about yourself when you're outside your comfort zone. So keep pushing. It's a normal feeling, and trust me, you'll be okay. My name is Alex. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.